today's episode of Uncommon Sense, I am joined by my colleague, Grettelyn, and we're going to talk a little bit about the meaning of Christmas and why it brings about nostalgia. Hello, viewers and listeners. Welcome to another episode of Uncommon Sense, the official podcast of the Society of G.K. Chesterton. I'm Joe Grabowski, the VP for Evangelization here at the Society, and I'm joined by Grettelyn Darkey, our wonderful development director. Hi, Grettelyn.
Hey there, Joe. How's it going?
Very well, thanks. And we're recording this the week before, but this will be releasing the week of Christmas. And so how have things been going in preparation for this great winter holiday that we get to celebrate?
Oh, slow. Just like the end of any pregnancy, as any woman will tell you. We got our tree up, and it is the densest tree I've ever seen. So we got about 600 lights on, and it's still not lit. So after a trip to the hardware store, it should be there. We'll see.
Yeah, for my part this year, for whatever reason, I'm very much behind where I usually am at this time of year. I'm usually very prepared for everything. I have still shopping left to do and all
You
that.
usually have your lights in the background by now.
I have my
No?
lights in the background,
Yeah.
so it's just been a strange year here in my house. People haven't seen me in this environment as often. I had a flood at the beginning of the year, and it just it disrupts everything. And then when you're living in a space and then trying to remodel a little bit and move things around, it's very frustrating. But um, anyway, Christmas is coming, whether we like it or not. It'll be here as of the airing of this episode in a couple of days. And I love Christmas. Christmas is probably I'm kind of I always got the sense that Chesterton was more of a Christmas guy than maybe an Easter guy. He seems
Mhm.
to resonate with the spirit of this holiday. And one of the things that it brings up is this sense of nostalgia, or it's often talked about in connection with nostalgia. I'm not making this up, right? You've heard of
Oh,
this
yeah.
or
Oh,
familiar
yeah.
with it? Yeah. Well, the origin of the idea for this episode, for this chat to have today, was that I was actually looking up on YouTube recipes for Christmas, as I want to do. I like to cook, and and one of those videos, there was this lady. She was making several things, and after everything that she made, she it became like a tick. She said, "This is just pure nostalgia," right? And finally, after that, I went online and I started looking and went down a little bit of a rabbit hole. I researched movie reviews of like all the Hallmark Christmas movies.
Mm.
Uh, and in all those reviews, they're rated, and the ones that are better are the ones that are supposedly containing more nostalgia.
Mm.
Um, so I thought we could maybe delve into that because it struck me finally, you hear something 1,000 times, it kind of goes off in your brain. Do you happen to know? I didn't give you any time to prepare for this, Grettelyn, but so I apologize. But do you happen to know the origin of the term nostalgia, or the meaning even of the word nostalgia?
Hmm. Maybe if you gave me a lot of time to think about it. So why don't you just tell me?
Well, it's for our viewers and listeners' sake, I'm going to tease it a bit more and give you some trivia quiz information that you can impress your friends with at parties. So it's not a it the terminology is not common. It doesn't have common parts that we hear in everyday speech. But one place that you'll recognize maybe a part of the word from is if you watch TV at all, you'll likely have seen at some point or another a pharmaceutical commercial advertising a cure or a treatment for fibromyalgia.
Mm.
And you can impress your friends with this fact that we would look at the word fibromyalgia. If you had to break it down, you would think, well, it's a compound word, and it is, of fibro and myalgia. But myalgia is also a compound word itself. So it's really three words put together. Fibro means fibrous. Myo is from the Greek word for muscles or
Mm.
muscle tissue. And then alga or algos in Greek is the word for pain or ache,
Mm,
right? And so fibromyalgia it's actually probably misnamed now that we know more about what that condition is. But anyway, it's like muscle aching, right?
mm,
So there's the hint, right? That nostalgia is supposed to be painful
mm,
or an ache, right? And that was what struck me as I thought about this. But it's not, I don't think that this would disagree with most people's experiences of the kinds of things they call nostalgia, right? Because we refer to these things as being bittersweet or
mm.
kind of, there's sort of a longingness to the memories when we come up with something nostalgia. I don't know. That's every time I see like a Snoopy, uh, kids have like Snoopy dolls and stuff. That makes me nostalgic, precisely for Christmas. It's like I
Mhm.
have no real. I don't have much time for any of the Peanuts movies, but Charlie Brown Christmas, I'm tuning in every time.
Yeah.
So any just thoughts like about why do we like this experience of bittersweet or painful memory? What is
Mm.
that about? Do you have any thoughts at this point? We're gonna
Well,
get Chesterton for the answer to this, by the way.
yeah. I
Yeah.
hate to bring up another pop culture movie, but it instantly makes me think of Inside Out 1. I never saw 2. I have no idea. But, there's that idea if sorry, spoiler alert, everybody who or if you hate Disney, forget it, it doesn't matter. But, there's this idea that you can't have a memory once you're, like, mature. Your memories start to be mixed emotionally, right? So you can have a happy memory that's also mixed with sadness. You can have a, worried memory that's also mixed with, I don't know, happiness, I guess. So there's these different sort of mixed and complex emotions, speaking of compound things. Uh, and I think that has something to do with it. It's that, especially around Christmas, we don't I think even, people who have had pretty bad childhoods, they have some happy Christmas memories. There's generally at least one that you can point to, or, even if you've had a good childhood, but maybe say you've lost a loved one or something like that. Christmas is hard at that time, but it's also nice because you generally have some nice memories of that person at Christmas time. So I think it's because of that mixed sense. So yes, pain, but also some, like, pleasure in the pain, not in a weird way, but just in a real way that everybody kinda has this mixed and complexity of emotions, especially around Christmas.
Exactly. Yeah, I think we're right on to kind of what this is about, and now we can wrap up sort of the analysis of the word because we found out what algia or algos means. That's pain, but nostos. This will be great for anybody in the Chesterton Schools Network community. Your kids are reading the Iliad and the Odyssey. They're familiar with Homer. Nostos is this other Greek word that makes up the word nostalgia. So it's nostos algos. And nostos is homecoming or going
Mm,
home, specifically returning home. So this is the chief it's a literary trope in Greek literature, but it's obviously the chief theme of the Odyssey, right? This is what
mhm,
Odysseus has to do. And, if you read Joseph Campbell, Hero with a Thousand Faces, or if you read really anybody, or if you're just pretty well versed in literature and movies, you're going to know that this pops up all the time, right?
mhm,
This is Bilbo there
mhm,
and back again, and then Frodo repeats, albeit with some other stops along the way, different stops. Frodo repeats the same journey, so it's about going home. So the and that from what I understand, I didn't do like a full deep dive research into the origins of this term, but from what I understand, the term nostalgia was coined to sort of diagnose a condition of soldiers on the front who were feeling homesick.
mm,
This is the desire that they had to go home, and that's why it has this medicalized ending
mm,
of a term used to describe muscle aches or nerve pain, if you've heard of neuralgia, right? Neuralgia, that's the kind of pain we use it now. I don't know who came up with this, analogous usage, but it's very well done. You'll hear of certain political conversations and such being called neuralgic, or it's a
Mm,
neuralgic subject. Neuralgia is the type of pain you feel when a raw nerve is exposed in your tooth. It,
mhm.
you that's
Sounds
so this,
political.
yeah, exactly. So all this just got me thinking. Yet so despite this origin, despite the fact that we acknowledge that the hero, wants to go home, and that if all we're talking about is past memory, right, which is what some nostalgia relates to, um, yeah, it could be like the desire that we really isn't possible to us to return
Mhm,
to our childhood to experience all that again. But what fascinates me about all this is that, like, we like it. We like to sit in that space of sort of coziness and slight discontent,
mm,
like, alongside one another, and, I don't know if you're picking up on it yet, but, like, this is very Chestertonian.
mhm.
Um
Well, maybe I'm jumping the gun, but I feel like there's an analogy here towards longing forward, right? So, our ultimate home. And sorry if I spoiled the whole episode right there, but,
No.
yeah, and there's a word, and I can't remember it because it was a long time ago that I took Nordic poetry, but, I wanna say it's, like, Scandinavian poetry. There's a specific word that, like, means longing for something that's gone. Like, it's a longing for the past, and it's, like, a word that means that, and there's a whole genre of poetry that goes around that, anyway, that's a bit of a side note, but, yeah, I think that this also the nostalgia for heaven is a real thing, and probably is very linked to Christmas because, obviously, this is how we get to heaven is through this baby that comes into the world, but, again, so sorry if I spoiled the whole
No,
episode.
not at all. Well, this is why I think, you know, I just wanna, as people are preparing now, it's 2 days before Christmas as you're listening to this maybe, or it might be Christmas Eve, and I just thought about how central this is really to especially the cultural celebration of Christmas. So much so that it's think of how many Christmas movies are get home movies. Whether it be Home Alone or Trains, Planes, and Automobiles, I guess that's technically a Thanksgiving movie, but, it's in the Christmas. Um, but even, like, National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation is one of my favorites, and, obviously, content warning, PG-13, viewers and listeners if you've never seen it, but it is a very, very funny movie, and it's very sweet movie and realistic to a lot of experiences of Christmas, and what I love about that movie is that it gets this vibe of a nostalgia on Clark's part. Clark is the dad, played by Chevy Chase. Sort of because he does at one point say to his dad that you were always so unflustered,
Mm.
and you you managed the perfect Christmases growing up, and I just wanted that for my kids. But his dad says, "Well, I had a lot of help from Jack Daniels, right?" And but the sense that you get is that, like, Clark actually wants something that he's never had,
Mm,
which gets exactly to your point, right? It's
mhm.
this idea of and I don't know. I need to hear this myself at this time of year because I'm gonna make a lot of plans. I'm having a Christmas party right after Christmas,
Mm,
bringing people over, and I'm sure something's not gonna go right. Something will burn in the oven or spill on the floor or a
mhm,
kid will cry and, something will happen. And yet, um, that's kind of part of the experience, and,
mm,
I think that this is why I love Christmas decorations too, because, like, we light the house, we bring in all these art but none of the artifice, none of the artificial things that we light with, none of the evergreen is truly evergreen. It will
mm,
fall at the end of the season.
mhm,
We really want the light eternal and
mm.
the truly everlasting, vitality, right?
Yeah. Yeah, this is what I was trying to get at, and if anybody wants to drop in the comments what that word is for all y'all nerds that might know, um, I can't remember. It's like skelling or something. It's some one of those kind of words. Anyway, but that's part of the idea is that you're longing for basically an idyllic past that never really was. So, yeah, which is what you're talking about, and it's also, I think, again, tied out, forward to that longing for our true home, right? Yeah, but even if, when I think back on Christmas, I probably am thinking mostly if I think about one Christmas, it's probably like a bunch of Christmases, just the best parts of all of them, just kind of pieced together, and it's not necessarily, like you said, the real, the family fights and the disappointment of not getting this or that or thing or whatever. I don't know, the sledding accidents or whatever. There's all these things that are there, but when we look at it with that nostalgia, we definitely do look at it kind of through rose-colored glasses, and I wonder if that is I wonder why that is. I wonder if that's, again, like a pulling forward towards heaven or if that's just wanting things to be better than they are. What do you think, Joe?
Well, I think I have a little bit of Chesterton here. So I think, and I'm not going to find the exact quote of where he talks about this, but he has the great quote. It's somewhere, I believe, in Orthodoxy about the Garden of Eden, and he says, "Probably we are in Eden still. It is just our eyes that have changed." And but he goes back in Orthodoxy again and again, and in the passage I do want to read from Orthodoxy, I'll try to cut it correctly. He does sort of make reference to this idea. The fall was a central doctrine for Chesterton. For one, he said it was the only doctrine that you didn't or dogma that you didn't need any divine revelation to like really know. Right? You could absolutely know that there had been some primordial catastrophe because you just need to look at human nature. Um, and I think it's that though, Gretel. And I do think that like in our being on the level of species and humanity made in God's image, there's a memory of walking in the garden with God. And when we experience happiness, when we experience the small glimpses of beatitude and grace, it's simultaneously a memory of the race, as it were, and a looking forward to
Mhm.
something even planned. Maybe that's just poetic. I hope it's not heretical. Uh, I don't think that it is, but yeah, I think that that's where Chesterton would kind of lead us to think about this. Incidentally, he doesn't talk about nostalgia, but
Mm,
pretty much that I can see. I think it was still we think of it as and it was an old term. It was invented in the 17th century, but it you can look at a usage chart.
mm,
It's called the Google Ngram, and like the it's really not until the age of psychology, which is sort of during Chesterton's lifetime, and he didn't have much time for it. Uh, that's when you start to see this film really popping out.
mm. That's interesting. I never really thought about, like, this idea of heaven is behind you as well as in front of you. That's kind of cool. Um, yeah, I like that.
Well, I do want to give Chesterton his due here with this quote where he talks about the difference that Christianity makes in the world, and he says that it's this principle that all creation and procreation is a breaking off, at least, uh, and this principle is at least as consistent through the cosmos as the evolutionary principle that growth is branching out. A woman loses a child even in having a child. All creation is separation. Birth is as solemn a parting as death. It was the prime philosophic principle of Christianity that this divorce in the divine act of making was the true description of the act whereby the absolute energy made the world. According to most philosophers, God, in making the world, enslaved it. But according to Christianity, in making it, he set it free.
Mm,
God had written not so much a poem, but rather a play he had planned as perfect, but which had necessarily been left to human actors and stage managers, who had since made a great mess of it. Uh, Incidentally, I just want to pause there. If you're not familiar with Chesterton's play, The Surprise,
mm.
should look that up and read it. And you might even be able to find a broadcast of it or something on YouTube or a presentation of it, because that is exactly what the surprise is. God,
Mm,
this idea of a play that's planned perfect and then gets messed up. Um, so very, very cleverly done. Uh, but he says that one could be at peace with the universe and yet be at war with the world. St. George could still fight the dragon, however big the monster bulked in the cosmos, though he were bigger than the mighty cities or bigger than the everlasting hills. If he were as big as the world, he could yet be killed in the name of the world. So he's talking about this discovery that he made, and Chesterton says, then followed an experience impossible to describe. It was as if I had been blundering about since my birth with two huge, unmanageable machines of different shapes and without apparent connection, the world and Christian tradition.
mm,
I found this hole in the world, the fact that one must somehow find a way of loving the world without trusting it. Somehow one must love the world without being worldly. And then I found this projecting feature of Christian theology, like a sort of hard spike, the dogmatic insistence that God was personal and had made a world separate from himself.
mm,
Spike of the dogma fitted perfectly into the hole in the world. It had evidently been meant to go there. And then the strange thing happened. When once those two parts of the two machines had come together, one after another, all the other parts fitted and fell in with eerie exactitude. I could hear bolt after bolt over all the machinery falling into place with a kind of click of relief. Having gotten one part right, all the other parts were repeating that rectitude as clock after clock strikes noon. Instinct after instinct was answered by doctrine after doctrine. Um, And he goes on and he says, the fancy that the cosmos was not vast and void, but small and cozy, had a fulfilled significance now. For anything that is a work of art must be small in the sight of the artist. To God, the stars might be only small and dear like diamonds. And my haunting instinct that somehow good was not merely a tool to be used, but a relic to be guarded, like the goods out of Crusoe's ship, even that had been the wild whisper of something originally wise. For according to Christianity, we were indeed the survivors of a wreck, the crew of a golden ship that had gone down before the beginning of the world.
mm,
But more important was this, that it entirely reversed the reason for optimism. And the instant the reversal was felt, the instant the reversal was made, it felt like the abrupt ease when a broken bone is put back in the socket. I'd often called myself an optimist to avoid the too evident blasphemy of pessimism. But all the optimism of the age had been false and disheartening for this reason, that it had always been trying to prove that we fit in the world.
mm,
Christian optimism is based on the fact that we do not fit in the world. I had tried to be happy by telling myself that man is an animal, like any other which sought its meat from God. But now I was really happy, for I had learned that man is monstrosity. I had been right in feeling all things as odd, for I myself was at once worse and better than all things. The optimist's pleasure was prosaic, for it dwelt on the naturalness of everything. The Christian pleasure is poetic, for it dwelt on the unnaturalness of everything in light of the supernatural. The modern philosopher told me again and again that I was in the right place, and still I had felt depressed even in acquiescence. But I had heard that I was in the wrong place, and my soul sang for joy like a bird in spring. The knowledge found out and illuminated forgotten chambers in the dark house of infancy. I knew now why grass had always seemed as queer to me as the green beard of a giant, and why I could feel homesick at home.
mm, mhm. Breathe that in for a second. Ah, it's so interesting. It is so and it is the real, like, best reason for hope and for optimism. Because
Mhm.
even if you just look around on a purely secular level, we're bombarded with this if you turn on the nature channel. We're definitely better at wrecking things than we are at cleaning them up, right? But if you're simply relying on humans to clean things up, it's not a very hopeful picture. Whether you're talking politically, environmentally, whatever. We just don't have a lot. We're not good at that. No matter how good the intention. But if you look at it from a "it's not just up to us" kind of perspective, then actually it does seem much more hopeful. Hmm.
It does, and that so to circle all the way back here, I this word nostalgia was bumping around in the back of my mind, and I knew that it meant homesickness, uh, and then I knew that there was this quote from Chesterton that about homesickness, and of course it's in Orthodoxy. I don't know why I looked elsewhere first to try to find it, but there it is. It's in Orthodoxy. By the way, that whole passage that I read is right at the end of chapter 5, the flag of the world. But this idea of being homesick at home, that is the nostalgia, and Chesterton saying that this being out of place is joyful. I had heard that I was in the wrong place and my soul sang for joy. I really think that he just gets exactly what it is that we've been talking about and why we like that weird admixture of things not living up to their memories or living up to our expectations of things being even a little bit off, like the Byzantine drop stitch or whatever it is. That the idea that you don't want it perfect because
Yeah.
it's just as much to remind us that as good as it gets, there's still something better.
Mm,
So
mhm. Here's your trendy, weird Japanese word of the day. Wabi-sabi. You heard of this?
not wabi sabi. I've heard of wasabi, but
I
that's
know, this is different. This is not the spicy sauce. This is not So, apparently, it's an idea in Japanese philosophy, you know, forgive me for getting weird, but, um, it just basically means nothing is ever finished and nothing is ever complete. And it also, I think, captures this feeling that we're kind of always at tension. And I've seen other YouTubers talk about it in the sense of like, "Oh, and this makes me feel at peace because then I can just be okay with nothing being okay." And it's like, well, if you take it just one step further into Christianity, you can be okay with it not being okay for an actual reason. So, it's a true feeling, and I love the idea of bringing it further into, like a baptized theology of like, this is no, nothing's ever complete here. Nothing's ever finished here. We're never gonna get it perfect here. But that's why the baby came at Christmas, right?
yep. And why we celebrate that, but that's this lovely multi-layeredness of Advent, what the word Advent, which means coming, and the church speaks in her liturgical documentation of the three comings of Christ that we look to each Advent, that we look to his coming in the flesh at the fullness of time when he was born of Mary in Bethlehem. We look to his daily coming in the form of grace and of the sacraments into our lives, but ultimately we look forward to his final coming. And that idea, as much as it sort of like maybe worries us or troubles us or scares us, you know, we should approach it with the joy that we would approach the manger
Mm,
if we have the opportunity to be present at that coming. And we should also, as Chesterton teaches us, as we've tried to reflect this Advent with our daily gratitudes campaign, we should also approach each of his comings that way, with that
mm.
same joy that we are meeting him. And so, yeah, I kind of just thought this would be a fun thing to reflect upon here, on Christmas. Oh, here's one for you. Have you ever heard it called this Christmas Adam?
Like the
The
maybe
day
maybe not.
before the day before Christmas Eve, an
No.
uber Catholic friend, you know exactly the type that I'm talking about. He said this to me the other day, and I just thought I was having a stroke or something. I'm like, "I don't those words aren't equating," and, like, "Did you mean Christmas Eve?" And I'm like, I get, like, Adam and Eve, and then I'm like, "Is it Cockney rhyming slang? That doesn't make sense," you know? And then, of course, like, it was it was like 3 days later, when I'm brushing my teeth in the bathroom that it occurs to me, it's like, "Oh, Adam comes before Eve. Adam's the
Oh.
So the day be yeah. Like, I've never heard that before, but he said it like this was just something everybody called the day before Christmas Eve, this Christmas Adam. Yeah.
That's
There's
cute.
another fun one. You get to reveal the secret meaning of the word fibromyalgia, and you get to talk Christmas Adam.
Take this to your Christmas cocktail parties and
That's right.
be wabi-sabi, there you go.
Wabi sabi,
And
and
whatever that word is that somebody in the chat is gonna get for me, I hope.
that's right. Look in the chat for the Scandinavian lore element of this. You've learned about Nostos in Greek, the homecoming, and there and back again. We've had a good conversation. I think this is hopefully something as you're dressing your ham or turkey or goose or whatever it
Or
happens to
tree.
be,
Who
or,
knows?
or decorating your tree, or even if you're listening while you're out shoveling snow.
Mm,
Hopefully, this gives you just a little bit to think about and pray with as
mhm.
you approach this great, this great, wonderful solemnity. So, anything to add, Grettelyn?
No, I think that was grand. I wish y'all a Merry Christmas. It's happy 2025.
That's right. Well, Merry Christmas to you. Thank you, as always, for a great conversation.
Mhm, thank you.
And to you, viewers and listeners, from everyone here at the Society of G.K. Chesterton, our best wishes for a very happy and holy Christmas. And of course, that begins on December 25th. But, in good Chestertonian fashion, we're going to try to keep it for all 12 of those days of the song. So keep celebrating. Don't tire of it. We know that eternal appetite of infancy and pleasure that God has it wears us out, as Chesterton talks about in Orthodoxy. But we can try. We can try our best to celebrate the full 12 days with vitality. So enjoy your Christmas season, and we will speak with you again on the next episode. Till then, God bless.